High in the misty mountains, where clouds touched the peaks and waterfalls sang lullabies, there lived a dragon named Ember. But Ember wasn't like other dragons. While the other dragons loved roaring and breathing fire and guarding treasure, Ember just wanted to sleep. He loved napping in the warm sunshine, curling up in cozy caves, and yawning great big yawns that made his tail curl. Every morning, the Dragon Council would gather for fierce practice. This was where all the dragons learned to roar louder, fly faster, and look more frightening. "Roar like thunder," commanded Blaze, the oldest dragon. "Show your fiercest face." All the dragons puffed out their chests and roared with all their might. "Roar!" All except Ember. He tried to roar, but what came out was a tiny yawn. Yawn. The other dragons gasped. What kind of dragon yawns during fierce practice? "I'm sorry," Ember said sleepily, his eyes already drooping. "I'm just so tired. Can't we practice being cozy instead?" "Cozy?" Blaze huffed smoke from his nostrils. "Dragons aren't cozy. Dragons are fierce." But Ember didn't feel fierce at all. He felt sleepy and soft and gentle. That afternoon, while the other dragons practiced their scariest looks in the mirror, Ember wandered away from the mountain. His wings felt heavy. His eyes kept closing. He just needed to find somewhere quiet to rest. He flew slowly through the valley, searching for the perfect napping spot. Not too bright, not too loud, just right for a sleepy dragon. Then he saw it. A beautiful meadow filled with soft purple flowers that smelled like lavender and honey. A gentle stream bubbled nearby, making the most peaceful sound. "Perfect," Ember sighed happily. He circled down and landed softly, careful not to crush any flowers. He curled his tail around himself, tucked his wings close, and was just about to fall asleep when he heard a small voice. "Excuse me, Mr. Dragon?" Ember opened one sleepy eye. Standing in the flowers was a little girl with a flower crown on her head. She looked about 7 years old and wasn't afraid at all. "Hello," Ember said gently. "I'm sorry if I'm in your meadow. I was just looking for a place to nap." The little girl's eyes went wide. "You're the nicest dragon I've ever heard of. Most dragons in stories are mean and scary." Ember sighed. "I know, I'm supposed to be fierce and frightening, but I'm just too tired to be scary. All I want to do is sleep." The girl sat down in the flowers beside him. "I'm Luna, and I think being sleepy is much better than being scary. My village is just over the hill. We never sleep well because we're always worried about fierce dragons." Ember felt sad. He didn't want anyone to be worried or scared. "What if," Luna said thoughtfully, "you could help my village sleep peacefully? Then being a sleepy dragon would be the most special thing ever." "How could I do that?" Ember asked, his interest growing despite his tiredness. Luna smiled. "I have an idea, but first you look like you need a nap. Why don't you rest while I go talk to my village?" Ember was already yawning. "That sounds wonderful." He laid his head on his paws and closed his eyes. Luna gently placed her flower crown on top of his head. "Sleep well, kind dragon." And for the first time in his life, Ember fell asleep without worrying about being fierce enough. He just let himself be exactly who he was, a very sleepy, very gentle dragon. When he woke, the sun was setting and the sky was painted in soft pinks and purples. Luna had returned, and with her were many children from the village. Ember sat up quickly, worried they might be afraid, but the children were smiling. "Luna told us about you," said a small boy, "about how you're a gentle dragon who loves to sleep. We were wondering," Luna added, "if you might help us with something very important." Ember tilted his head curiously. "Of course. What do you need?" A little girl with pigtails stepped forward shyly. "We have trouble sleeping at night. We get scared of shadows and strange noises. But if we had a dragon to watch over us while we sleep, we'd feel safe." Luna nodded. "Not a fierce dragon who might frighten us more. A gentle, sleepy dragon who understands how important good sleep is." Ember felt something warm bloom in his chest. Not fire like other dragons, something softer, something like happiness. "I would love to help," he said gently. "I know exactly how to make the perfect sleeping place." That very night, Ember flew to the village with Luna and the children. The whole village came out to meet him, nervous at first, but Luna assured them this was the gentlest dragon in all the land. Ember showed them what he'd learned from all his napping experience. He breathed soft, warm air, not hot fire, to make the village cozy on cool nights. He curled his large body around the village square, creating a protective circle that felt safe and secure. When the wind blew too cold, his wings became a gentle shield. When the night seemed too dark, his scales caught the moonlight and glowed softly like hundreds of tiny nightlights. But the most magical thing happened when the children started to feel sleepy. Ember began to hum. It wasn't a roar. It was a deep, gentle rumbling sound that came from his chest, a dragon's lullaby. The sound vibrated through the ground like a peaceful purr, making everyone feel calm and safe. One by one, the children yawned. Then the parents yawned. Soon the whole village was yawning together. "That's the most wonderful sound I've ever heard," Luna whispered, her eyes already closing. "Thank you, Ember." As the village drifted off to sleep, Ember watched over them, humming his gentle lullaby. For the first time ever, he felt proud to be exactly who he was. Not fierce, not frightening, just gentle and sleepy and kind. The next morning, the village woke up more rested than they'd been in years. Children laughed, parents smiled, everyone felt peaceful. But high on Misty Mountain, the Dragon Council had noticed Ember was gone. Blaze flew down to the village, ready to scold Ember for missing fierce practice. But when he arrived and saw Ember surrounded by happy children, bringing flowers and singing songs of thank you, Blaze stopped. "Ember, what is this?" Blaze asked sternly. "Why aren't you at the mountain practicing being fierce?" Ember stood tall, not with fierceness, but with quiet confidence. "Because I found something I'm better at than being fierce. I help people feel safe so they can sleep peacefully. I'm not a fierce dragon, I'm a sleepy dragon, and that's exactly what this village needs." The children nodded. "He's the best dragon ever," they said. Blaze looked at the peaceful village, at the grateful people, at Ember, who looked happier than he'd ever been on the mountain.
"Thank you, great
the
dragon."
The old dragon's expression softened.
We
He'd
are
been
safe
fierce for
because of
so
you.
long, he'd forgotten that dragons could be other things too. "You know what, Ember?" Blaze said quietly. "Being fierce is what I'm good at, but being gentle and kind, that's what you're good at. And maybe the world needs both." Ember's eyes widened. "Really? You're not disappointed?" Blaze shook his great head. "I'm proud. You found your own way to be a dragon. Not every dragon has to be the same." From that day on, the Dragon Council changed. There was still fierce practice for dragons who loved to roar, but Ember started something new, gentle practice, where dragons learned to be calm, peaceful, and kind. Some dragons chose to be fierce, some chose to be gentle, and some, like a young dragon named Spark, discovered they could be both, fierce when protecting others, gentle when comforting friends. Every night, Ember would fly down from the mountain to the village. He would curl around the village square, glow softly in the moonlight, and hum his deep, peaceful dragon lullaby. And every night, the whole village would sleep peacefully, knowing they were watched over by the gentlest, sleepiest, most wonderful dragon in all the land. Luna would often fall asleep with her hand resting on Ember's warm scales, and she would dream of flying through clouds on dragon wings, always feeling safe, always feeling loved. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't roaring the loudest or looking the fiercest. Sometimes the bravest thing is being exactly who you are, even when it's different from everyone else. And Ember was finally, perfectly, peacefully himself. The end. Sweet dreams, little ones. Remember, you don't have to be what everyone else expects. You just have to be yourself. And that is always, always enough. Close your eyes now. Imagine a gentle dragon humming a lullaby just for you, keeping you safe through the night. Good night.